Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from OurSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Thursday, January 29th. We've got some updates on Notre Dame's defensive back coaching search to replace Mike Mickens, who is headed off to the Baltimore Ravens. So we'll talk about those names, talk about some traction being gained by Notre Dame there. We'll talk about Malachi Fields is killing it at the Senior Bowl right now. Jeremiah Love is number 2 in a very highly respected football analyst rankings, top 50 rankings. And then we'll talk a little bit about the playoff and staying at 12 teams and kind of the Big Ten shenanigans and what they're trying to do, trying to make it 78 teams and all those other things. And whatever comes up in the chat as well for this show. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe and please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. As always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. He is Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. They're known for their next-level craftsmanship using the finest fabrics. ESQ has introduced a 100% Pima cotton t-shirt to go along with its award-winning bamboo dress shirt, which is available for purchase online. They've got showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com. Step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment or use code ISD at checkout and receive 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Just a little heads up for subscribers to this channel. I've got an interview coming up tomorrow with Hannah Hidalgo, star guard for Notre Dame's women's basketball. Kind of talked about her taking on the challenge of this season, and it's going to be, obviously it was going to be a little bit different than last year, given, they lost a whole bunch of key players. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about her improvement in her play. Her efficiency is kind of off the charts, Jamie, which I did not expect, given so much of the defense can now kind of focus more on her without the star power in the lineup. So it was a good conversation. I talked to her yesterday. So it was a very good conversation. They have a game tonight against Cal, so hopefully they can pull it out. Jamie, how you doing? How are things?
Doing great.
Jamie's doing great. That is great. What's also kind of going along really well is Notre Dame's search for a new secondary coach. Thank you. I was going to actually mention you should fix that camera. One person who's not going to be is Chris O'Leary. He is off to be the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. It's interesting. We mentioned on Tuesday, like, people really didn't want Chris O'Leary, and now he's going to be a defensive coordinator. Listen, he
apparently sucks.
Apparently, I think it's if people can feel however they want to feel about his previous time at Notre Dame or whatever. I don't want to rehash it. What I would say is, if someone likes another candidate, then that's totally cool. Okay, that's fine. But the guy who is a defensive coordinator in the NFL probably would have been a good choice for safeties coach. Like, so it's kind of like Tommy Rees, right? Like Tommy Rees, he is now the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. If you can say whatever you want about him being the OC at Notre Dame, if he came back to be the quarterback's coach, like, that would be a good thing. Like that, yes. He is overqualified for that. And safety is not even as intricate as quarterback would be. So anyway, he's off the NFL. That's fine. Notre Dame does have traction with co-defensive coordinator Jay Valai. There has been communication there. How serious it is kind of unknown, right? We're kind of in the early stages of this thing. Matt reported on that yesterday. And so that's, I think people are very excited about him. And I would, to be clear, I would be excited about that as well. A name that came up that we hadn't heard yet is, first of all, Ricky Hunley out of SMU. Jamie, what can you tell us about him as a possibility as a candidate for Notre Dame's open position here?
Well, one, SMU's played pretty darn good defense the last, few years. That's for sure. He's someone who was at Liberty before. He came with the Liberty DC to SMU, and the fact that SMU came into the ACC and immediately was one of the best teams in the ACC I think says a lot. And a lot of it was because of their defense, right? So he's obviously done a good job there. The other thing is that once again, this is that I should have done more. Should have done more. I wrote it at 2 a.m, finished at 2 a.m with the list, but there's just a lot of people. I don't know what this is. I mean, I think it says a lot about the fact that there's so many guys that Chris Ash coached that have gone on to be college coaches. I think that probably speaks well of him and what he's done and how he's like mentored guys, because Ricky Hundley, another guy who's connected to Chris Ash, played at Drake. Chris Ash coached him at Drake. He also was on the staff at Iowa State while Chris Ash was there. Obviously, Chris Ash helped him get that job.
Yeah.
So that's a deep connection there. That's something that, and I think it's funny because it always used to be a thing with Brian Kelly about like I don't know, like crony hires or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
That what they always used to say. It's just one of these things. It's like, if you know a guy is good, that's how guys get jobs. Like, that is whatever. You're like, hey, this guy's good. Like he knows his stuff. Like, I respect him.
Well, right? they go on and do good things at other big time places.
Yeah. So has not been coaching with Ash for years.
Yeah.
But obviously that's a guy that he has a lot of respect for. So that's that is one thing there. Like it's one of those things where I think people can say cronies this or crony that or whatever. Like, having a known commodity and know how the person would fit in with the staff and stuff too, that's always super important, right? So it is one of those things why he would make sense, just like Jay Valai, who's obviously at Oklahoma and done a great job and been in all these other places, but it is the same kind of thing. There's a connection.
I don't think people are necessarily against crony hires. I think it was who the cronies were.
I think whatever
I think,
it was.
Yes. I think people like these cronies a little bit more. Like when you're like the star cornerbacks coach for Oklahoma.
Yes. Yes, it's definitely that part of it. That is a big part of it. And the fact that people there's a lot of people just didn't like Brian Kelly. They're like, for sure. I don't care who he picks. The guy's not a nice guy. I don't like him. I'm like, there's a lot of people who are maybe rooting for Notre Dame, but maybe not rooting for him. So I think that's part of it too. And I think too, if like, whatever, I don't want to be, throwing dirt on Jeff Quinn's coaching career or anything like that, but he had not been connected and doing all these other stuff outside of Brian Kelly, like some of these other guys have for, that are connected to this job.
I mean, I think that part of it too is like Brian Kelly was known for not going out and grinding on this stuff, right? Like
not working hard to find the right
guy. Like you just kind of being lazy about it. It's like, oh yeah, I know a guy. Like I've got a guy, right? It's like, well, do you got a guy, or are you just like, this is your buddy, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Marcus is not that way, and he has not been that way. Like he is. We've seen him go outside the box and just grab guys. Like, for example, like Ge Wang, like there was not a great connection there. It was not like he was his friend or anything like that. So he's gone outside and found these guys. Max Bulla is another one where he did that. Al Golden was one. So no one questions that with Marcus. So whoever he brings in, and I think people see him as just like an ultra competitor, people kind of trust, like, whatever we think of the candidate, it's not Marcus being lazy or just like, I want to get this over with so I can get on with my off season kind of thing. People don't look at him that way. Another name that Matt brought up was LaMarcus Hicks from Northwestern. He's a defensive backs coach there. Obviously it's difficult to have a great defensive secondary at a school like Northwestern, given just the parameters of what it is at that university. But what can you say about him and his bona fides for potential to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he's done a good job at Northwestern, considering like I think if you watch Northwestern, I don't know if anyone has. I don't know if Notre Dame fans are tuning into too many Northwestern games, but I watched a few games from last year, and one thing I'll say about them is they play pretty darn good defense, and so I think that speaks to it, especially when you're not getting um, the same level of dudes
You're
that
not
the
getting
rest.
like the type of guys that Oklahoma can get.
You're not getting the type of guys that middle tier teams in the Big Ten are getting for the most part, right? Like you have to really work really hard and develop guys. So that says something, right? So he's obviously done a pretty good job there. Um, and anyone who has like an above average, you know, both him and Hundley, if you look at their track records, like they're always playing like above average pass defense with not the greatest material. That's always like a good sign. And yet another guy who has connections to he has connections to Chris Ash, played for him at Iowa State when Chris Ash was the DB coach at Iowa State, was an all Big 12 player for him at Iowa State. So that is one of these things, like it is one of those connections, and it's something that I think first of all too, when if you think about these guys having these connections to Chris Ash and Marcus Freeman being being interested in these guys too, this says he has a lot of trust in Chris Ash, and not that you didn't believe that based on last year and how things went, but I think his faith in Chris Ash kind of grew obviously throughout the season, right? Based on everything and how it went. And so I think it would say a lot that these guys are under consideration, and just yet another guy who's connected to the program.
And the last name that Matt mentioned yesterday was Doug Belk, which he's interesting because prior to Al Golden being hired, Belk was like one of the lead. I don't want to say a leading candidate because I don't know exactly how far he got in the process, but he was a name that people brought up. He was a hot commodity out of Houston. He was the DC there. It was Houston, right? Did I have that right? Yeah. Okay. And so he was like hot commodity. Then he went to, USC as kind of like an ensemble cast of characters to fix their defense. And that, it went how it went there. I mean, I don't know that he did a bad job in the secondary. Like I know the safeties like Kamari Ramsey had a very good season. I know Bishop Fitzgerald had a very good season. Like he had a very good season actually. And how much of that is scheme or whatever. But he recently left USC, and so now his name was kind of mentioned there. It's interesting that he would be floated for Notre Dame's position, just given the fact that it's a USC thing, and like their reputation on defense wasn't as good. But my thing with USC has always kind of been like the problem there is Lincoln Riley as much as anything else, in the culture that his kind of football team always takes on, where it's just like offense, everything, and defense is just kind of thrown to the wayside. Like it's almost like a coach who doesn't really care that much about special teams. Like I don't know, that he cares that much about it. And it goes to show that's the way they play football. So Doug Belk is one that's been out there. Anything to say about him?
Yeah, he was another guy that I included on my original list too, because he is a guy who's, well respected. And I think too that he's another guy who didn't have the safety position. I think they had good talent there, obviously. Kamari Ramsey and bringing Bishop Fitzgerald, those are two good players who were good players. Ramsey was a good player at UCLA. Fitzgerald was a good player at NC State. And those guys, I think, elevated their games there under Belk and Danton Lynn. The corners were bad. Like they didn't have good talent at corner. And I don't think that was his fault. Like I think that was straight up recruiting problems that went way before. It's a little bit like when you think of Mike Mickens was getting criticized for I remember this, and I'll never forget it because like Mike Mickens is a good coach. People were ripping on Mike Mickens like he was a bad coach, because some of his corners were getting beat, and was like, yeah, these aren't the guys. These aren't his guys. Like it's not. There was a different level. Once he got his guys, you saw the level that the secondary got to. And so I don't know. Like Belk doesn't even get to coach the guys that they got from this class.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit unfair. I don't know. I think he's a good coach, and he was somebody who was highly respected, and was like Houston had a top 20 defense in the country when not a lot of people in that league were playing top 20 defense, right? So I think would be a good coach. He's obviously recruited at a level. He's also just the fact that he's coached at USC, probably a little bit of a dig too. Did he probably really want to shove it back up USC, back at USC too? So I found it really interesting that he left, and I wonder too, because I know one of the things was Danton Lynn left. Like there was stuff going on behind the scenes that made him want to leave. Like he's like, I don't want to be here, right?
Yeah.
So I have a feeling it was probably mutual in a lot of ways. I think I have a feeling he was probably happy to go. And I'll be interested too if like their defensive line coach, like I mean they did sign some pretty good guys, but if an NFL job comes up or something like that, if they're going to lose some of those guys, like also like Rob Ryan is still on the staff. Like what? I don't know. Yeah. It's weird. It's a mishmash of whatever.
That's like I said, like defense is just kind of like, oh, let me find some guys and throw them all together and see what I can, kind of come up with. Hand up, by the way, on the Mickens thing. I remember because I was in the beginning, I was kind of side eye on Mickens, like, what's going on here? It was at the time where I was like, I'm not trying to give people passes, right? Like the early returns weren't as good. I think this is about when I started working with you guys and you were kind of like, you need to settle down. Like, and I think your point was like, it was the COVID class. It's like, no one got to see any of these guys. They didn't know. And so they're taking flyers on people. You couldn't really get evaluations and stuff.
Like Ryan Barnes. And
it's like you understood at the time or whatever. And obviously the next year, Ben Morrison shows up and it's like, oh, okay. All right. So, it's things got better very, very quickly with Mike Mickens. But so just to kind of put that out there and put my hand up, like, yeah, I had questions too. Harsh Squints asks, is there anyone that you've heard, connected to Notre Dame at this point for this position that you're not excited about? So look red flaggy to you.
No, none of the names that Matt reported. You can check out all the. I mean, we've talked about them, but you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, but you can check out all the names and Matt's notes on there. It's on IC's board, but like none of the names that he reported. I think all of those guys, like, I mean, certainly, I think everyone would be more excited if it was Valai, just because it's always easy to get more excited about the guy who's like, well, he was at Oklahoma and he's been tutored by Smart and Saban and Venables and all of that. And he's worked at all these places. He's recruited at these places and stuff too. So I think that would be the one that anyone would be the most excited about for Notre Dame if they got him. But I think all these other guys are pretty good coaches too. So it's not like, no red flags for me. I don't know. There's nothing that showed up when I was searching for these guys.
Yeah, I think the important part of this is the absence of red flags. I mean, I'm not ready to declare any of these guys are absolute home runs. It's like you said, like I think Valai is as close to that as you can kind of get among the names we have currently. But there's none of them where I'm like, like what? Why is this guy here? Like he hasn't, like there's no one like that. And so I don't. Let's just let it play out, kind of thing, and we'll dig more into it.
Yeah. So put it this way, there are other names in previous assistant coach searches where I was like, what is this guy going to get the job? Definitely. That has happened before when we've heard names or Matt has told me like on the slide when it's not even reported. Yeah, this guy's like a finalist. And I was like, what? Wow. Okay. So, but there are guys who had red flags, but ultimately those guys didn't get hired. So it's
Right.
like, who cares really? But I mean, there were red flags about Al Golden and Chris Ash too. Like in terms of how people viewed them, right? Just, well, why isn't Chris Ash hasn't been in college for this many years? He hasn't run a defense in this many years. And Al Golden, this guy hasn't been a defensive coordinator and blah, blah, blah. Like that was definitely was a topic of interest. And then after the first year, which didn't go so great, there are a lot of questions, right? So, obviously the critics quieted down, and he quieted those critics down, right? So, but it was something that that wasn't seen as like a home run when it happened. That was seen as going outside the box, and hey, it ended up being a pretty good hire. Guy won the freaking Broyles Award as the top assistant in the country.
Yeah, went to national title game. That's good.
Yeah.
I think like Chancey Stuckey was one that was like, huh.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Like this is a pretty big hire that needed to be made, and like that was interesting. That tales from the past. Speaking of the recent past, so we've got some NFL stuff coming out. Daniel Jeremiah, one of the best scouts in the media. I think he does a really good job scouting players, and had Jeremiah Love number 2 overall in his top 50. So like he does a mock when he does his mock drafts. It's like what he's hearing from teams that they'll do, and then his top 50 is just top 50 overall players, regardless of where they'll be drafted and stuff. He had Jeremiah Love number 2 behind Fernando Mendoza, so that's very cool for him. Kind of validates like, yeah, he's a very good football player. Malachi Fields number 45. Is that surprising? I don't know if it's surprising to me. I wouldn't have expected him in the top 50. I figured, well, like when I opened the link and I looked at the page, I saw Jeremiah Love and then I closed it because I figured that would be it. Malachi Fields at 45. Interesting for him.
I mean, I was definitely interested in seeing that. I wouldn't have thought that he was going to be in his top 50. I thought, maybe if he's having a great week at the Senior Bowl, maybe that's when he pops into someone's top 50 or something. But there's one reason why I have so much respect for Daniel Jeremiah is that he's someone who's not afraid to just go like, oh yeah, this is one of my guys. Like I respect him because you don't see that. And then it's funny because now that he's having the Senior Bowl week, all these people, I always loved Malachi Field. That's what's going to happen, right? It always happens.
Right.
So, I would also say too that I think Daniel Jeremiah, because of his position at the NFL Network and because he was a scout for multiple teams, he has friends who are general managers and high-profile scouts and personnel people. He talks to a lot of people, and who people think in the media is a certain guy. He'll get a tip from those guys and be like, why has no one got Malachi Fields in their top 50? Like that is something people will say to him.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, that's why he's one of the more accurate guys when it comes to it too, because not only is he's professional, he is a professional scout. Like that's what he was doing for a living before he got into the media. He also gets help from his friends that work in the industry, and they tell him like, hey, I think you ought to take another look at this guy, or this is a guy. Why aren't people talking about this? Right. So I think that's probably more indicative of how teams feel about a guy like Fields than a lot of the other media people.
Yeah. The catch he made yesterday in the in practice in the
Pretty
team
great.
period, insane. He's running the post. Incredibly poor pass by Taylon Green. That is like he could have just let
Yeah.
him. He could have walked into the end zone, and instead it's like over his shoulder. He has to adjust. Like the ball, like clearly goes. It crosses from his left to his right, and he's looking backwards. And so he has to track the ball that way, and then he has to lay out. It's insanely difficult catch to make if you've ever been in that position. And he ends up laying out and catching it. And I mean, Dean Brugler's tweeting about it. Everyone's tweeting about it. I mean, you go pick 45 or around thereabouts, you're middle of the second round, which would be a great thing for him. And obviously that brings a lot of chatter. How he was, misused to an extent at Notre Dame, or not, they didn't get enough out of him, I guess. And I actually think that's true, but
I don't know. I don't really agree
well,
with that.
I guess to me, he could have like hit whatever his numbers ended up being. Like he could have been a 1,000-yard receiver, I think. That being said, to what cost is this the case? Because there's meat on the bone as far as his numbers, but there's not really meat on the bone as far as Notre Dame's offense. Like they scored 42 points a game.
Yeah.
So like it's true, but it's also like, does it matter? Like this, I think the same thing with Eli Raridan. Like it's crazy to me he didn't catch a touchdown. And he's another guy whose numbers feel like they should have been more. But what did it cost them? It didn't really cost them anything. Both of these guys made plays against Texas A&M for sure. They both made plays against Miami. I mean, Malachi Fields has the fumble against Miami, which obviously was bad on a screen, but it's like, I don't know. It's true they could have gotten more out of it, but they couldn't have got more out of the offense. So, I guess they could have averaged like 49 points a game, and that would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with that. Like he could have easily been like 1,000-yard receiver, but he didn't play in an offense where he was just the only guy.
Right.
Like
it wasn't like Chase Claypool in 2019.
No, that was so different, right? Like that offense had Chase Claypool and Cole Kmet. Period. Like that was
as far as NFL guys. Yeah.
As far as top guys, like you're gonna get the ball to those guys a lot more. And Fields, he had 62 targets, right? In 12 games, right? You always forget because they didn't play the extra game. Well, he had 194 the previous 2 years. So he would have, I mean, he 17.5 yards per catch was 3 yards better than any of his years at Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the guys, averaged 16.4 average depth of target. Like they just went deep. His catch rate is pretty much the exact same rate that it was at Virginia. Just they threw the ball to him less, because they're going to run for 300 against USC, or there were some games like he had like he drew like multiple 15-yard penalties against him. So those don't go on the stat sheet, but it's like those impact the game, right? Like those PIs impact the game. So, I mean, yeah, he could have had way better numbers. And I think there are games where he could have had a lot more. Like, man, he could have had like 150 yards of receiving in this game or that game or whatever. Yeah, you can easily see that. But, there's some games where like, hey, Will Pauling went off in this game, or this was Faison's game. And just imagine if, in a weird way, Jaden Greathouse getting hurt was almost kind of a good thing, because it would have been so hard to just really manage all that, which is why I think this is going to be really interesting this year, because they're going to have to kind of like find ways to get everybody the ball and make everybody happy there. And I do think they can play more tight ends this year too, right? So, I mean, that's the other thing. Eli Raridan was like, he was not just a really good receiver. He was a deep threat. Like how many tight ends are deep threats? So it's hard to manage that kind of thing. And I understand what you're saying, and I saw that some comments, like people were like he underachieved, and I don't think he did. I just think it was exactly like you said in terms of the offense. They just had so many weapons. It was just like no one was ever going to be, like used in a way that the same way that he was used at Virginia. And frankly, too, in terms of targets, Faison had 63, he had 62. Those were, and they were by far the thing. And a lot of Faison's targets were like free access, like a lot of easier throws.
Yeah. The number 2 player on his list is a running back, and he played for the same team as Malachi Fields. It's gonna affect things in terms of numbers.
And the other second best running back is up there on the same team too, right? So he's another
not in the top. Not in. Was he in the top 50?
He's for number 43.
Oh, I missed. Good gracious me! That's my bad. That is not good. I should have seen that. Yeah, the top two, the two guys at running back who are higher than him. So that's good for Price. Actually, I'm glad that that's the case, because if he's not like a early second round guy, that's when you start to think like, maybe there was a return to school situation that could have been had. But if he goes top of the second round, then there's nothing to talk about there. Something that just came across my feed here, Jamie, is your boy Cooper Patagna. He did his top 100 portal additions. You want to hear some fun stuff?
I do want to hear it.
I go in for you. Okay, so number 10 is Mateen Igaragba. Okay. Francis Brew, 53.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I already kind of, because people have asked on the board, like, who would you take? And I'd be like, well, it's a no-brainer. I would take Brew over him. And it's not to say that I think Ibaragua, if you watch his film, he's good. Like, I think he's good, but you get 1 year out of him. He wasn't a full-time starter at Wake, which is weird. That's weird. Wasn't a full-time starter at Wake, and he's got 1 year of Power 4 play, because he redshirted the other year, and he's in his 5th year, so he's older and all that, and that's, I guess, kind of an advantage. But Francis Brew was a freshman All-American, basically identical type of production in terms of their pressure rate, and he's 3 years younger than him, and I mean, I don't know, I there's more meat on the bone for him to kind of, there's more that he can get to there. Also, he's the situation, I guess, like, don't get me wrong, he'll have a great season because the Big 12 is bad, so he's going to dominate there, I'm sure. And he's a good player. Like I said, he's a good player. But he also, like, less productive. He had like 3.5 tackles for loss. Brew had 7. And TFLs don't always tell the whole story, but it just, so one guy was a sophomore and had 7, and the other guy was a 4th year guy who had this. It's like, I don't know. Doesn't make much sense to me, but and like I said, I think he's going to be a good player, but I wouldn't rank him above it. Like, well, put it this way, Cooper Patagna has Tion Gray's number 16, I just saw. And
no, he was in the 30s. I believe he was
18. Sorry. No, 18. I just looked it right here.
Oh, really? Interesting.
18. So, and not that I don't think he's going to be a good player. I think he's got a chance
you
to be
gotta
really
flip
good.
it. You gotta flip it.
If I'm just talking about in terms of the impact that I think those guys are going to make, I think that Brew will make a bigger impact.
Yeah.
So
No,
I don't know.
it's strange to me. It's very strange. Like the thing, like you said, Igaragba, whatever he could be, he wasn't a full-time guy at Wake. He's the 10th most impactful transfer in the whole process. What?
Yeah.
Like that's very strange to me. I mean, it doesn't ultimately, it doesn't matter. They're all gonna. I mean, the 10th guy could be exactly the same as the 53rd guy. I mean, what do these rankings even mean? I just thought it was funny, given it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But then that's probably, Texas Tech kind of, I guess, asking for this in some kind of way, or like, smoothing it out so that making sure that their guys are very highly rated and that sort of thing. And that's all good. I thought Sam Levitt was number one, which is like, maybe, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I just think it's weird because I don't think Sam Levitt is like that good. And I also think like
He might not win the job.
What?
He might not win the job.
I know it's so it's so strange to me. Maybe it's like again, maybe it's just like a hype thing. He's the most important portal guy. I guess I just don't really see that. Let's move on to the college football playoff. It's staying at 12. It's staying at 12. Everyone is, for this next year, everyone is upset about Notre Dame's inclusion. And top 12 automatically gets them in, which is academic. I don't know why people care. Like if the committee doesn't want them in, they'll rank them 13th if they're on the bubble, and that's just what they'll do. So I'd actually kind of like to know why this was negotiated in for Notre Dame, like what Notre Dame's thought process was. I mean, maybe this was before last year and they felt like this process would be kind of like in better faith than it was when it was like, because it was put into it in 2024, right? So obviously Notre Dame at that point had a little bit more leverage because they were really good. So but come to find out now that the power or the G6 team doesn't even have to be a conference champion. You just have to be the highest ranked, which again is like, people are up in arms about Notre Dame. Oh, why do they get special treatment? Why does the G6 get this kind of special treatment? You don't have to win your conference. And people are going in on like, oh, conference champions are so important. Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. They don't play in that conference championship game. Where did that go? Like that, it just completely disappeared. Jamie, your thoughts?
These idiots have no idea what they're doing. They really don't. They really don't. And it's just like I actually don't think it's a bad idea if let's say there is a clear team that's a group of 6 team that is head and shoulders above everybody else, and everyone's like agreed, like they
like
can
Boise State 2 years ago.
Like Boise State, exactly. And Boise State, but if Boise State lost to UNLV in that Mountain West championship game, who UNLV was good that year, how would you feel if you were UNLV if you're like, we beat them here and they don't get in? But it's like, if it's close, if you get upset and it's something ridiculous, but like, I don't know how you could do that. Like, I don't know how you could choose that given that circumstance. I don't know how all this, like, the whole thing. And I want to first of all, I want to shout out Chris Wilson, our friend Chris Wilson, the Rakes report and his newsletter, and him just like crushing Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, and his just ridiculous, like, going to 24 teams just to get Fox a chance at some playoff games First of all, Fox could have negotiated with, like, TNT is getting these games, extra games.
Right.
Fox could have give ESPN a little bit of extra scratch. You get those games. That's there for you.
Yeah.
ESPN didn't even take all the games. They gave some away. They're like, here, you can buy them off of us. They could have done that, and it wouldn't matter. Like, so you wanted to get the 24? If 24 people complained so much about Tulane and James Madison being involved, they should have never been in. Oh, like, what are we doing here? This should have been, that was the biggest problem. They should have never had that. Texas should have been in, and Notre Dame should have been in because 24 teams, they're both in. They're both in. They're the 21st and the 24th ranked team. They would have got in on their own. So what are we doing here? We're just adding these teams that people say aren't worthy. The people that they just got their butts kicked, and now it's like, hey, yeah, well, no, now they're gonna really actually make it. Like, come on, like, it's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's so dumb, and like, I don't know. The whole idea of the Big Ten is just such a joke of a conference because it's so stupid. They should be celebrating the fact that Indiana won and Ohio State won and Michigan won. And I saw this stuff about, like, well, now it's the Big Ten's reign. It's like, what are we doing here? This is like when the SEC, all these Vanderbilt fans started chanting SEC. It's like, as Alabama was winning, 5 out of 7 national championships or whatever. It's like, yeah, you didn't win any of those games. You're just by association hanging on to there. Half of the league sucks in the Big Ten. It's just true. Half of the league sucks. There's 18 teams. Half of them sucks. 7 of them aren't in the top 60 in F+ last year. Top 60, there's only like 65 teams in Power 4 or whatever it was, right? Like, and they're not in it. That's how bad they are. And I'm not saying like the ACC is any better. They got a bunch in the back end too. But like, it's just one of these things. It's a joke. It's a total joke. And, and also shout out to our friend Michael Bryan too, who he pointed out that basically that game, there's a chance that the Michigan State and Notre Dame, it doesn't look like a marquee matchup in terms of, maybe Michigan State will be better than people assume they'll be. I have my doubts, but let's just say they are. But that's probably going to be a primetime game for NBC. And you're like, that is really worthy of a primetime game? You know why? Because the Big Ten doesn't have anything that they can use that week. The games are brutal. And Fox can't even use that game because it's a Notre Dame home game, so it belongs to NBC. The other matchups are disgusting. Like, there's nothing that you would. It's like Rutgers versus USC or whatever is going to be the big noon kick. Like,
yeah,
Rutgers is getting the national TV primetime slot. Even USC getting that slot is gross. Like, they didn't do anything to earn it. USC, if they're playing Ohio State or Oregon, sure, but not them and some other crap team. Like, that's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. And then you have USC, who obviously dropped Notre Dame, doesn't want to play Notre Dame, and they're going to play UNLV or UMass. I heard it's going to be a Mountain West team or UMass that they're going to play as to replace. So Notre Dame replaced USC with BYU. They replaced them with that one of those teams. They don't play a Power 4 team out of conference this year. Same with Indiana. Same with Penn State. Same with Nebraska. Make these teams play. At least somebody. Make them schedule somebody. Maybe then Fox, maybe you would have a good game in week 3 to put on your main game there. That's what Tony Petitti had a chance to just be like, you know what? I really think USC should still play Notre Dame. This is tradition. He could have done all this BS about how this is a great rivalry and all this, and we need to still play it. And he could have come off as a good guy when really all he could have been thinking about was the TV and the part about how they need that. They need the inventory. Fox needs the inventory.
Yeah.
Fox is the executive of Fox are stupid if they weren't fighting, if they weren't bugging USC to say, like, keep this game, because this is a game we might need to use. Like, we might have it. CBS and NBC, like, keep this game. Like, they should be fighting for it. They should be on Petiti saying, get in the ear of Jen Cohen. I don't care about Lincoln Riley, this loser who's going to be out in 1 or 2 years. Like, get in the ear of Jen Cohen and the president of USC and tell him, keep this, because we need this inventory, because we don't want to have Rutgers USC be a big noon kickoff. Like, it's just too simple. Instead, you want to have the 24 team that isn't even going to get ratings when Tulane is playing, I don't know, Ohio State, and getting the brakes beat off. I'm like, come on. That's so stupid. It's so short-sighted and dumb. And this guy was a TV executive. He should only be thinking about ratings and all that kind of stuff. Instead, he's just a Larry Scott moron. This guy, hey, whatever. Sorry, this was a long rant, but he's terrible at his job. He's not good at it. Like, it shouldn't be that hard.
He's terrible at his job for what college football fans want. He is not terrible at his job for the people that he kind of answers to, and that's kind of the difference, right? Is like he's doing this for something that has nothing to do with the sport and making it enjoyable for people who care about it. Like, so
do you agree though that it would be better for the people that he's trying to appease to keep that kind of game and to make those teams play? I do think
so. I do think so, but not in their view. If he thought that they wanted that and that it would work out, then he would do it. That he's not doing it for a reason. Like, he's following marching orders. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. He's like a toothless.
Yeah. So like, I do agree with you, but for whoever he's taking his orders from, like, that's not what they want. So it just kind of is what it is. I want to bring up this Tyler Borgman. I brought up the Notre Dame thing. This is a good point. The memorandum of understanding thing with Notre Dame getting a top 12, like, it's protecting Notre Dame from having to be locked out and join a conference, basically. So all these everyone else has some sort of automatic bid, automatic buy-in or whatever. We're getting X amount of teams or whatever. Notre Dame is saying, like, hey, we got to have something as well then, right? Because it's not, because the thing with the people, the argument that people make about Notre Dame is like, well, you're not in a conference. You're not playing by the same rules. It's like, but really Notre Dame is playing teams made up of the conferences that you're talking about. So, like, is it special that the Big Ten plays 9 conference games against the Big Ten? It's like 9 conference, but then you play 3 from the FBS, whereas Notre Dame's playing 10 from Power 4 and 2 from G5, right? Like, it's still teams within conferences. What does it matter if it's one specific conference or not? Like, Miami didn't win the ACC. They weren't even in the ACC championship game. You know what I mean? Last year, Ohio State wins the national title, weren't in the Big Ten championship game. What did they do that was so more difficult than what Notre Dame did? Nothing. They did nothing more difficult. So the conference there's no special part of that gets you in. So what Notre Dame is saying is like, look, if all these conferences are getting automatic bids for whatever reason, and I mean, group of 6 teams, group of 5 teams are getting automatic bids. They are 2 this year. So if they get something for that, then Notre Dame should get something, because they're playing a schedule made up of all the conferences that are getting automatic bids. And that's what Notre Dame is doing. So on that front, I get it from Tyler, and what Tyler was saying. Let's kind of bring it back to Notre Dame here. I just there's not more than 12. See, here's the thing with 16, right? Like everyone says 16 is perfect, and I understand why they say that, because you kind of get everything. You get all of
Because
the
there were
best.
teams on the fringe this year that,
Well, but you get there's team, but they want to include the group of 6 or the group of 5, whatever it is now. They want to include them, but you also want to make sure that a school like Notre Dame, a school like Texas, a team like Vanderbilt, to some extent, they also have a chance to make it because they're fringy. In my opinion, there's not more than 12 teams capable of winning the national title.
Yeah.
But they're always including schools that can't do it. Like Tulane is not going to win the national title. Like James Madison is not going to win the national title. But they want to include them out of fairness or competitive, whatever. They do want to. If it was just straight up 12 best teams, Notre Dame's in, Texas is in, and everyone's happy, right? But that's not what they're doing. That's why you go to 16. I get it. 24, half the field is not going to win the national title. Because like you put in 6 thoughts, this isn't pro sports. There's so many teams. The talent is spread out all over. Like the talent is spread over 130 teams, not 30.
Yeah.
So there's just not enough there that are going to win it. So that's why anything more than 16 is just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I do, and this is also too another thing why, okay, the SEC, and they should be applauded that they did this where they're doing the 9 conference games and they got to play one Power 4 team or Notre Dame, right? That's what they're doing from now on. So they should be applauded for that. But I guarantee the biggest catalyst for them doing that was ESPN saying, give us some more games here that are good. Give us some more games that are good. So then Ole Miss played their 8 SEC games and 4 teams that weren't Power 4 teams last year. And you know what? They made it to the semifinals. Like, they were obviously a pretty good team. But maybe they don't make it if they played 10. Like, they got to play 10 Power 4 teams this year. Maybe they don't make it. And then maybe the whole thing with Lane, it doesn't become a thing, right? Like, and there's a huge difference between playing those 2 extra games. Even if it is something like you're playing Northwestern, which isn't a powerhouse, but Northwestern has a better chance to beat a lot of teams than, playing the Citadel. There's a big difference between playing those teams. And so the Big Ten, they don't mandate that you have to play the 10th game, right? The 10th Power 4 game. Same thing with the Big 12. Like Texas Tech, Joey McGuire complaining about Notre Dame, not being in a conference when this is going to be his 5th year. They played two Power 4 teams out of conference in 5 years. Like, that's pathetic. Like, they have worse schedules than Notre Dame every year.
Texas Tech would have gone 11-1 with Notre Dame's schedule last year. Notre Dame played a harder schedule than them.
Yeah. They would have went 10-2. They would have had the same record, I think.
What is the difference? Notre Dame's playing SEC teams. Like, I get it, man. Like, Arkansas wasn't very good. I get it. Totally get it. You still got to go to the SEC. Arkansas gave every SEC team a hell of a time. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna play USC at home.
Yeah, they might have actually lost to Arkansas or somebody too. Like, that is something that could have happened. Like,
it just they lost to Arizona State.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. Their quarterback was out that week, but yeah.
Okay, fair. But still, like, it just, like, the defense, that was their calling card, So my point is that being in a conference doesn't make you special. It doesn't mean anything. I would understand if if Notre Dame wasn't playing a bunch of Power 4 teams. Their schedule is made up of Power 4. I mean, this was the Tom Fornelli thing.
Yeah.
Like, who do you want them to schedule? You know, like, what do you want? They're playing all the teams that these other teams play in their conferences.
Yeah.
They're just playing a different mishmash of them, right? They're playing some from Big 10, some from SEC, some from Big 12.
Yeah. And don't even get me started on the Wisconsin thing and how that's seen as like a cupcake game or something, because when the game was scheduled, first of all, the COVID obviously screwed up.
It was supposed to have been played in 2020.
Yeah. That game was supposed to be played in 2020. They were a much different program then. And when the game was when the game was originally scheduled, they were winning like 10, 11 games a year. And who also would have predicted that, oh yeah, by the way, Luke Fickell is going to be like have a disastrous first 3 years.
Yeah.
That people thought it was going to be a home run hire. And he's going to his fourth year. Basically, the only reason he kept the job is because they're like, I don't think we can get anybody better right now. Like, so even looking at it 3 years ago, you would have said, wow, when they hired Fickell, you're like, oh, that's going to be a tougher game. Like,
yeah.
And that's not what they're saying now, right? It's just different. Things change.
Yeah. But then when like one of these Big 10 teams goes on the road and beats Wisconsin, it's like, well, it's Wisconsin on the road. That's tough. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's different when Notre Dame's involved in that, but we've seen that before. All right. I think we can end it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell soon, whatever it is. We are going live. We'll be back on Monday with Power Hour and Mike, and then Hit and Hustle Tuesday and Thursday. Look out for my episode tomorrow morning with Hannah Hidalgo. It's going to be really fun. Check it out. And that's going to be a good listen for everyone. So, all right, we will talk to you soon. We'll talk to you next week. Keep hitting and hustling.